The Vanishing Speakeasy. They hired me to find a jazz singer named Lila Moore. No last address, no relatives, no paper trail, just a voice. Her last job was at a speakeasy called the Blue Halo. They said Lila Moore could sing a song in reverse, not musically, emotionally. You'd hear the ending before you understood the beginning. She vanished on a Tuesday. Jazz singers always seem to vanish on Tuesdays. Something about the day. It feels unfinished. I wrote the name in my notebook. The ink smeared slightly, like it didn't want to stay. The first man said it was underground. The second said it had windows. The third insisted there was no door at all. But all of them described the same moment. Lila singing, looking directly at me, which is impossible. City Hall offered me a map where the speakeasy should have been, but there was only concrete. No records, no permits, no complaints, no fires. I stood there too long. A man walked past and muttered, "Bad place for music." I found a private archive in a forgotten basement. Dust thick enough to hide guilt. A single acetate disc waited in a plain sleeve. No label, only handwriting. For him. I played it. Lila's voice filled the room. Soft, low, deliberate. She wasn't singing. She was telling a story. A story about a man searching for her. Then, she said my name. Exactly the way my mother used to. I began to notice something. Every witness described the speakeasy. The politician remembered power. The musician remembered beauty. The judge remembered forgiveness. Then, the room changed into a smoky speakeasy, a grand ballroom, and a courtroom. It wasn't hiding. It was adapting. The Blue Halo wasn't a place. It was a mirror. The files finally surfaced. The Blue Halo wasn't collecting secrets to sell. It was collecting truths people had buried. Confessions spoken while music made them feel safe. But no one was ever blackmailed. Because the real leverage wasn't exposure. It was memory. The speakeasy ensured everyone remembered their sins, but never the same way. No truth could be proven. No lie could be erased. Lila didn't vanish. She dissolved. She became part of the place. Her voice was the door. Her songs were the walls. She wasn't a singer. She was the architect. And she built the speakeasy around me. I finally understood when I found my own handwriting in an old city ledger. Not recent, not even neat. It listed me as original investor, primary client. I wasn't hired to find Lila. I was hired to remember her. Because I built the Blue Halo to hide something. Something I made Lila promise to never let me forget. She didn't disappear. She stayed behind to guard my truth. And the case wasn't about a missing singer. It was about a detective who erased himself from his own story and hired another version of himself to find the truth again. I closed the notebook. I stopped listening to the tape halfway through the first pass. The voice ended mid-breath, the way someone stops talking when they realize they've said too much or not enough. I rewound the tape. This time I heard something under the surface of her voice. Not a harmony, a hesitation. Lila Moore had been afraid, not of disappearing, but of being remembered. I returned to the empty street 3 nights in a row. The third night, it rained. I noticed what I hadn't before. The puddles never reflected the same building twice. And in one puddle, I saw velvet curtains. I followed that reflection instead of the street. It led me behind a door that wasn't attached to any wall. No hinges, no handle. The blue hollow members only. I touched it. The door opened. It was the speakeasy. Every face familiar. Not from life, from regret. They weren't talking. They were listening to Lila. She stood on a stage that barely wasn't there. Her body slightly translucent. She wasn't singing. She was waiting for me. Room started to change. The curtains became hospital sheets. The candles became monitors. The jazz became flat. Then I remembered. Lila Moore hadn't vanished on a Tuesday. She died that day. She'd been sick, terminally ill, and I had known. I had begged her not to tell anyone. Not because I didn't love her, but because I couldn't survive watching her be mourned while she was still alive. So I built the blue halo, not as a mirror, but as a mausoleum that could breathe. I gave her a place where she could continue to exist. I would never let her become a ghost, only a mystery. But that wasn't the real secret. Lila didn't die from illness. She stopped treatment. She asked me to let her go, quietly, and I agreed. I signed the paper. I held her hand, and I told myself it was mercy. The speakeasy trembled. The walls spoke with thousands of confessions, not from strangers, but from me. Every time I came here before, every version tried to forget. Every detective I had hired inside my head to investigate the crime. Lila stepped closer. "You didn't kill me," she said. "You just let me finish." I told her I loved her. She sat in my chair, the one behind the desk, the chair of the man who knew the truth. She looked at the audience. She said, "He didn't build the blue halo to remember me. He built it so I would remember him." And suddenly I understood. Lila Moore hadn't become the speakeasy. She had inherited the speakeasy. She had been collecting my versions, my stories. She had turned my mind into her archive. Revenge would have been easier, but love required patience. She leaned in close. "I didn't vanish, darling," she whispered. "I stayed to make sure you could never pretend I did." Then she stood, and for the first time, she sang. Not a song, but a goodbye into a memory. When I opened my eyes, I was back in the empty lot. No door, no music, just my notebook. Case closed. I finally understood. I hadn't been investigating her disappearance. I had been investigating my permission. She had turned my guilt into architecture, so I could live inside it until I was brave enough to leave.